Giraffe Off here. Hope you're having a good day. I'm just going to be going through the next video in a series on how to build a UI that looks very similar to the SkyUI menu system for Skyrim. It's a really nice menu system. So if you haven't watched the other videos in the series, I recommend checking those out. The last one was just on sorting a fixed list of inventory. But what we're going to be looking at in this one is actually setting it up so you can click on labels to sort by different columns, basically. By so for example, like sort weapon names and sort by value, that kind of thing. There's links in the description to the GitHub project, and I'm leaving links to the kind of like the starting point for this, and then I'll just keep committing to that project over time. So whatever's the latest thing in there is probably going to be more up to date than whatever this video is. But yeah, that's kind of how it's set up, and so I will show you what I'm talking about here. So you should be able to see. Whoops. There we go. You should be able to see the kind of general setup here that I'm talking about. So what we're going to end up with is a list, inventory list, and we're going to have item names and maybe some different attributes here. And then above that, we're going to have column names, and those will be clickable to sort by that column. So that is kind of the end goal. It doesn't look nearly as good yet. I'm just kind of focused on the functionality because I think that's probably the most useful part. So that's the direction that we're going. And then I'll show you what this looks like at the moment. Yeah, so kind of at the moment, what we have is, run it here. We've got a list of items here on the left. You can see they're sorted by name. And then as you click on any of those, it's going to update the details over here on the right. So it's pretty basic. You can scroll through it too. So, I mean, it's getting closer to being functional. And yeah, I tend to do these videos with a smaller resolution so that if somebody's on their phone or not on like a screen with a, not on a large monitor, that they can kind of follow along as well. So anyway, that's kind of what I'm doing here. If you are on a huge monitor and you'd prefer to see something that's got some more space or whatever, or more where you can see more of what's going on or whatever, just let me know. But anyway, that's the way I'm going to be doing this for now. So most of what we're going to be doing is going to be with within the canvas here, and then adding some scripts and updating some things down here. So at the moment, the way this works is this game object has a script, and that script has an array, and we can just drag all the inventory items that we want to into this array. And then it knows how to sort that and how to generate menu item entries in that list for each menu item using this menu item template. So just going to copy this thing over and over for each of those menu items. And then down here, I'm using scriptable objects to represent instances of scriptable objects, I should say, for each of the different kinds of weapons, which are currently the only thing that can go into the inventory. So what I'm going to do here is at the moment, the menu item only consists of a name. And you'll notice when I enable that, I'm keeping it disabled because I don't want it to show up when the thing's running. I'm just using it as a template. But since I'm making changes, I'm going to enable it again so we can see it. And I'm just manually adding spaces at the beginning of the name at the moment. So we're probably going to have to do the same thing for whatever other attributes we show. So just for simplicity, I'm going to probably just focus on adding value over there for now. But before I do that, I'm going to change the name of this to name instead of just text. Because we'll actually have a name with text, and we'll have a value with text. So let's just go ahead and do that. Value. And we will want, we can just put in a sample starting value, And we're going to want that to be aligned to the right. And then again, we'll just programmatically add the space for now. Doesn't really matter. I mean, that's the easy thing to tweak. You can do it differently if you want to. But yeah, we've got this set up so it has a name and a value. And then the next thing I want to do is update. There's a couple different ways we could go, but let's update the inventory item to have a value. So at the moment, I have this scriptable object called inventory item, and I'm just going to add public int value equals 0. So now each of those instances of the scriptable object, which is what our weapons are, should have a value column, and we should be able to see that if we just hop back over to Unity. It might take it a second. So when we go into any of these, this is all relative. Let's say a Daedric sword is 5,000. Say a Jomer axe is 1,000. Say an ebony sword is 2,500. Glass sword maybe a similar 2,500. And Nightingale bow, special item, let's just give it like 10,000 or something. Doesn't really matter. And I think if we run this, it is not going to work because we've changed the name of the game object that holds the names text. So let's just see that real quick. See it break. Nope, it actually worked. Interesting. I'll show you why that is in a second. So yeah, let's go ahead and update our scripts. So we want to look at the inventory item list because that has most of the logic for creating that list. So what it does is it takes that list of items and then it figures out, it adds menu items based off of the number of inventory items. And then it just got some different methods in this. This is covered in previous videos, so I'm not going to go into it too much. But ultimately, it's going to call set menu item for each inventory item. And that's going to do most of the lifting here. So here you can see that we are dealing with like an inventory item and then the game object for the menu item. And previously, we only had one child, so we could just go look for a text within the child, but since we have multiple now, that's not the best way to do it. So what we can do is change this to transform.find, and we can find name, and then we can say get component. We want the text component from that. And then that will have text, and we're going to set that equal to label. And label is just something we're building from here using item.label, which is what that is. So if we save that, actually let's just go ahead and do value as well while we're in here. So we'll find value, get its text component, and set it to be, for now, let's just do item.value, and we want to pad it with a few spaces on the end. And just so that we're doing this consistently, I will make this a spacer. And I will update this to also use a spacer. And then just above this, define a string spacer equals. And then we could just make sure we're using the same kind of spacing on each side. So we'll save that, see what kind of problems we get. And we'll run it. And there we go. So we've got our values showing up here on the side, and those are kind of what we would expect. I think the reason this top one looks weird is because it didn't hide the menu item template. Let me do that. Let's try it again. Yeah, here we go. So cool, we've got our inventory list updated with all of our items, and we can see both the value and the name for those. So yeah, it's pretty easy. I mean, if you wanted to go ahead and add in all these other things, like weight and what was it, weight and type and all that stuff, we could do that pretty easily. But I'm just going to continue with this because I think this kind of conveys the what we're trying to do with this. So it'll be a little bit faster just to focus on just adding this one field. So now we can go ahead and stop. Now something else we want to do is we want to get ready for different ways to sort. And when we do, if you think about what we're trying to do, we're trying to be able to click on column names and have it just update the inventory's item sort order for us. And so at the moment, sort inventory items is all it's doing is reordering the inventory items themselves, which is just kind of like the data. But what we want to do is we want to actually change the we want the menu to visually update. We don't just want the memory essentially to update. So instead of just doing the sort in there, I'm going to grab set menu items from up here. And I'm going to go ahead and just move that inside of sort inventory items. And then I'm going to make this public because we're going to need to be able to call this from the outside to do this. And we're going to have more properties that we want to sort by other than name here. So what we could do is, let's just hop back over here for a second. So we don't actually have a name, we have label. So let's just change that to label. And usually if you're doing a bunch of kind of if-else statements on a string, what you really want to use is not just a big if-else block. You want to use like a switch to do that. So it just kind of lets somebody else that's coming into the code know you're only switching on literally one value. You're not going to like mix in other kinds of conditions into it, which is kind of nice. So here, we'll just go ahead and get this set up to switch on property. And in the case that it is, we'll go ahead and just add the value case, I guess. So we can just say when it is value, we're going to update inventory items, and we are going to order that by, for each item. This is like the comparison. We're going to be ordering by item.value, and then we need to turn that into a list at the end when we're done. So, and then we can get rid of actually we can hold on to this case because we're going to want that. So the other thing you want with a switch statement is a default. So when you don't get a match in this list, you need to make sure you've got something that you can do that's going to make sense. Sorry, you also need to break out of each case. So let me do that so it doesn't continue going down and trying to match other things. And instead of sorting by value, we want to sort by label. And then we can just get rid of that. And let's just try running this again. If we did this right, then we won't see anything break. So let's just confirm. Did it wrong. We'll see something break and we'll fix it. So yeah, that looks good. We're still sorting by item names here. And if we wanted to, we could just do a quick test on this, and instead of sort by label, we could do sort by value is the default. And then run it again. So yeah, you can see some warnings below. I'm not sure what those are about. You can see here that now we're sorting by value, lowest to highest, instead of by name. So the sorting itself is working, which is great. So we'll switch it back to sorting by label, because that is going to be our default case. And then we will hop back over. I'm not sure if this was just some kind of weird transient thing, if there really is really is a problem with this. Let's see. Yeah, I don't know. Let's try running it again, see if it happens. Yeah, I'm not sure what that was about. But yeah, you can see these are still working. We can click on these just fine. So at this point, what we need is we need to go through and we need to update. Sorry, just a second. Go away. You gotta go away, Claire. I'll come out in a second. I'm recording something right now. Yeah, so what we have at this point is the ability to sort these things, and we have added values for each of the inventory items. And so now what we need to do is actually go ahead and set up the triggers for the column headings and then the buttons that go along with those. And to do that, we're going to need a few things. We're going to need the game objects for it. We're going to need to set up buttons, and we're going to need to set up an event that represents the change, and then we're going to need to set up script for actually like invoking the event. So I'm just going to go ahead for now and create the script that we want to have. So we need something similar, or sorry, the event that we want to have. So it's going to be kind of similar to this thing here. So we're going to go create C# script, and that is going to be inventory item list sorting change event. Probably use something shorter, but that'll work. And then we're just going to get rid of all this stuff, and I'm just going to paste this in. So all we really need is access to Unity Engine.events, and then we need to have a property that's accessible for the type of event. We need to make a class for our event, and it's a Unity event, and the data that is going to be part of that event is just a string. And so that's why the type here is going to be string, and then it doesn't do anything, so you don't have to worry about doing anything with that. And so we will just go ahead and save that. And then the other thing we'll want to have is a script for actually doing the sorting choosing. So here I will go and create a new script, and I'm going to call that sorting chooser. And yeah, I prepared a little bit of this stuff in advance, so I'm not wasting your all's time. So over here in sorting chooser, again, we're just going to get rid of all this template stuff. And what we really want is access to Unity Engine, access to events, because we're going to use an event here. And then this is all going to be pretty short. So we want to be able to set an event, and we will just use the default for that event. You can Google around about this a bit, but this is like a convention you can use that keeps things a little bit simpler. We need a string, so that's going to be the property that we want to sort on, that we pass in to our sorting method. And then we need to be able to call when we do when we click on the column. We need to be able to trigger like a method directly, and so that's going to be choose sort. And what we're going to do is we're going to use this instance of the inventory item list sorting change event that we have, and we're going to invoke it, and we're going to invoke it with whatever that string property is that we can edit directly in the Unity UI. So it's a little convoluted, but what you end up with is like a game object that has a button, and then and it also has a script. When you click the button, you run your script, which is this script, and then it's going to trigger an event. And then on that game object, we can also say, when you get this event, here's what you should do. Go update something on the inventory item list. So it's a little convoluted, but that is how it works. So now what we want to do is we want to add column headings here. So we want to do this within the canvas, and probably within the inventory item list. It doesn't really matter as long as it's, I think, within the canvas, but I'm going to add it here. So let's go ahead and make a new game object. Let's see. So we'll pull this up, and then this is going to, oops, I always do that. There we go. Cool. So we've got a game object. We're basically gonna set it up here. So the first thing I want to do is rename this. So let's just call this sorting controls. And then we'll just go ahead and pull this thing up here. And that's probably pretty good. Again, I'm not trying to get the design perfect on this. I just want to get it functional for now. So this thing doesn't need to actually do anything. So within it, we're going to create another game object, and this is going to be, this will be our name sorting control. And I'll just go ahead and set one of these up for now, and then it'll be easy to just duplicate it, I think. So we're going to pull this down. And I don't know exactly how much space we'll need, so let's just try to do that for now. So we want to add a text component, and in that text component we'll just say name, and we're not going to be able to see it right away, so we want to change the color to black. Okay, so that's an alright starting point. And then another thing we need is a button, so we'll go ahead and add that. And we'll set that up here in just a second. And then the other thing we need is our sorting chooser script. So yeah, these are the two things we'll need to get set up to work together. So when we click this button, we want it to do something. We want it to run a function that is available. Sorry, let me get back to it here. We're going to actually run our sorting choosers choose, and in order to do that, we're gonna refer to ourself here essentially. So even though we have this game object highlighted, when we click, we want to look at this game object. And then over here, we can go to sorting chooser, and we can go to where is our sort? Maybe I don't have it quite set up yet. Let's see. So here's our sorting chooser script. Let me take a look at that real quick and make sure that looks okay. I don't have it saved, so maybe it's still got the initial version of it. Yeah, here we go. This looks better. So now we can go to sorting chooser and choose sort. That's just so you can see that. I'll go slowly. So what happens is on the game object, it'll look for anything that might have properties or methods you could run. And one of the things on here is a sorting chooser script, and it has a public method called choosesort, and that's what we want. And it's going to invoke with a property. It's going to invoke, when we call that method, it's going to invoke itself with whatever the property is that's available. So here, since this is the name column, we need to see what that corresponds to. And it corresponds to label. So we're going to be sorting on the label property. And when it gets that event, it's going to use, it's going to call inventory item list sorting change event dot invoke with that property. And when that happens, we need to tell it what's interested in listening to that, or to getting updated when that happens. And that is the inventory item list. So we'll drag that over here to be the thing that cares about that happening. And what we want to happen is we want to call sort. Yeah, here we go. Sort inventory items. And so what will happen is when this event comes through, this is going to get called, and it's going to use the value from property here. So it may not be obvious. Let's just try running it. Since we default to sorting by name, it's probably not going to look like it does anything, but let's just click on it and make sure it doesn't blow up. And it doesn't. And a way we could confirm quickly before adding our other column headers to know that it works is, instead of sorting by label by default, we can just come back and sorry, let me move this up. We can come back and, oh my God, did I screw this whole thing up? Come back and add the value there. And then run it again. And there we go. So we clicked on name and it just resorted by name. So it should be pretty trivial to just go ahead and add the other one. So what we're going to do is go in here and just duplicate this, and we're going to rename it, and we're going to call it value. And then what we're going to want to do is a couple things. We need to move it around. So we're going to want the text on this to be right aligned, and we're going to want it on the right, and we're going to want it to say value. And we're going to want it to refer to itself, so it looks like it's already set up to do that. And then here we want the inventory item list to sort inventory method to get called, and instead of label, this is going to be value, because this value is the property that we want to sort by. So if we run this, I think what we'll see is it starts sorting by value, and then we can switch to name, and then we can switch back to value. So yeah, that's basically it. We could, with all that working, you can go through and add whatever other attributes you want to add for your weapons, and just set up additional labels that act as buttons for any of those properties. And then, just drop in, like wire up essentially the text for any of those properties so that they can display in these items over here on the left. And it should just work. There's probably some optimizations and stuff you could do, like if this is called and we wanted to, we could hold on to the current sorting property, and if the incoming property isn't any different than the existing one, we could just short circuit and not do any work because the sorting isn't actually changing. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of little tweaks and stuff like that you could do, but I don't think it's going to be super noticeable. It probably wouldn't matter unless you had just an absolutely enormous inventory. So yeah, thanks for following through and watching this video. Let me know if you're interested in seeing more videos in this series. I think if I was to do more, I would probably start trying to get this to look a lot closer to the Sky UI before really doing a whole lot else. Because really the other functionality that's left is not very complicated. There's essentially another layer of sorting above, which is for different types of menu items or inventory items, and doing some icons and kind of like general cleanup stuff, which might be fun to do. So anyway, let me know if you're interested in seeing more videos like this. Hit subscribe if you want to see the new videos are coming out. If you hit the little notification bell, it'll let you know as soon as new videos do come out. I have a mailing list below that I will probably use to promote some stuff that I'm doing. Probably give out some discounts for just some smaller things that I'm going to try out. I'll be lucky to send out like a couple things during the year, so it's definitely not something I am going to be spamming, but I do want to have some way to stay in touch with you if something of interest pops up. So if that sounds interesting to you, please use that to sign up. If you want to support the channel, I have links below to Amazon. So if you use that link, I'm an Amazon referrer, so I can make a little bit of money off of that, and it won't cost you anything. So yeah, that'd be much appreciated. But yeah, thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.